This morning, during the third day of the teachings for the sixth Arya Kshema Winter Dharma gathering, to continue with teachings on the jewel ornament of liberation by the peerless Karmapa. So we have the teaching and listening on this text. First, this morning, before I begin the actual teaching, there are a few words I thought I would like to say. And now, these are things that you all, of course, know. The nuns' Winter Dharma gathering. It was given the name the Arya Kshema Winter Dharma gathering. And of course, we could give any name that we wanted it, whatever name we thought of. We could give it any name we wanted. However, the reason why we gave this Arya Kshema Winter Dharma gathering the name Arya Kshema, instead of calling it something like the Kaju Winter Dharma gathering or the Kansan Kaju Winter Dharma gathering, but instead the Arya Kshema Winter Dharma gathering. What is the reason for that? So who's Arya Kshema, we could ask. The reason why we're calling this the Arya Kshema Winter Dharma gathering is that Arya Kshema was, during the time of the Buddha, a disciple of the Buddha, or she was a member of his retinue, or among his disciples there were male and female monastics and male and female lay people, and among them primarily the male and female monastics. And among both of these male and female monastics, there was a seniority in terms of their precepts, and also differences in ranking and order of their realization. So there are differences in terms of their realization. For example, like we talk about the 8 great Shravakas who were the disciples of the Buddha. Like we talk about the greatest in miracles, Madhulyan, and the greatest in prajna, Shariputra, as is well known. And similarly, and likewise, among the ranks of the female monastic disciples of the Bhagwan Buddha, there were the greatest in terms of prajna, and the greatest diligent, and so forth. And among them, the greatest in prajna and confidence was Arya Kshema. She was a bhikkhuni. And so when we first began this Winter Dharma gathering for nuns, we thought that the greatest bhikkhuni among the greatest bhikkhuni in terms of prajna and confidence was Arya Kshema. To give her name to this Winter Dharma gathering would be appropriate in historical terms and also in terms of the need for our current day. Because the reason for this is, for having this Winter Dharma gathering, is to increase the nuns' learning and understanding of the 5 great texts through listening and contemplating. And so since Arya Kshema is the greatest in terms of prajna, if we take her name and give her name to the gathering, then it would be very good. And likewise, she is also said to be the greatest in terms of confidence. And so nuns need a bit of confidence. Sometimes we get pride and confidence mixed up. Pride means ignoring others. It means confidence means having enthusiasm or strength, mental strength in terms of your virtuous minds. Having the enthusiasm. It's like an antidotal type of pride. So we have to have this confidence, and having confidence is really important. If we don't, if the nuns from their own practice, if they think, I can't do that, that won't work for me, and if they lose their confidence and get discouraged, then it'll be difficult to find a day where they can actually lift their own heads up. So basically, we have to increase our own mental determination and be able to take whatever steps we need ourselves, and to be able to dare to do this. And so, for these reasons, we have given this name the Arya Kshema Winter Dharma Gathering. And so I thought I'd just remind you all of this again, because of course the names, Arya Kshema is just a name, but if we know the meaning of the name, then it has a kind of different feeling. And in the way you think, you might think, now we've come to this Winter Dharma Gathering. And if we only think about the name of this Winter Dharma Gathering, then I think it'll make a difference in the way you think about this, and also the way you do your work and your job. So I thought I'd remind you of it for that reason. And so now I will to begin the teaching on the jewel ornament of liberation, and so we'll continue where we left off, to do the same as yesterday. I'm not going to teach anything new today, and the reason for this is, and if I read what he said, it is the precepts of engaged bodhicitta are threefold: the superior training in discipline, the superior training in mind, the superior training in prajna. Thus far, the length of the path for enlightenment says, keeping the vow of engaged bodhicitta, practicing the three trainings of discipline well, your respect for the three trainings will be great. And so I think I will continue just speaking out just about that passage itself. And so basically this is talking about the topic of the three trainings. And so you should be able to think about what are the three trainings and what are the essence and characteristics, and I think you basically understand these. So today I would talk about I thought I would speak about the topic of keeping the discipline of a bodhisattva. And the reason for this is, when I was speaking about the discipline of benefiting sentient beings, I wasn't able to teach it fully or well. And so I think I'd talk about the three types of discipline of the bodhisattva, and in particular the discipline of benefiting beings in a bit more depth today. Actually, it's during this sixth Winter Dharma Gathering, I think I'm only going to be able to teach this 11th chapter. I won't be able to teach the other chapters, so I haven't made any plans or preparations to teach the others. And the reason for this is that this 11th chapter has 1,004 words, and the 12th chapter after it has 2,312 words. And so this year, we only have until the 18th, the February 18th, that's when we need to end the teaching. And so within that time, it's difficult to finish both chapters. Now, if I were to read it fast, as if I was giving a Lung transmission, if that were okay, then I could just read the entire jewel ornament today. But if I did that, none of us would learn anything, and there wouldn't be any benefit. And so instead of that, today I think this time we'll just finish the 11th chapter. And if we have the place where we leave it off at the end of this teaching, it's easier if it's at the end of a chapter. It'd be easier to remember where the place where we left off is. It'll be easier to remember. And so for that reason, I only have plans to teach this 11th chapter. So first of all, to remind us about what the three types of discipline of a bodhisattva that I spoke about yesterday are, to count them like 1, 2, and 3. Now, what are the three disciplines of discipline? It's the discipline of refraining from harmful action. That's the first. The second is the discipline of gathering virtuous qualities. And the third is the discipline of benefiting beings. And now, according to the Sutra of Unraveling the Thought, it says the discipline of turning away from non-virtue, the discipline of engaging in virtue, and the discipline of benefiting beings. So it teaches three types of discipline. And following the meaning of this, the Ornament of the Mahayana Sutra says that the nature of the vows and effort is the three disciplines. And in Vasubandhu's commentary on that said that the three are the discipline of refraining, the discipline of gathering virtuous qualities, and the discipline of benefiting beings. He taught that there are these three types of discipline. Likewise, in the Bodhisattva levels, one of the Yogacarya levels texts, in Tibet, we talk about the five scriptures on the list. In Tibet, it's but in Chinese, they're all called the Yogacarya levels. In any case, among these five levels, the Bodhisattva levels, it speaks in the same, describes it in the same fashion. So basically, so we talk about it as why is it for the Bodhisattva that we don't need more types of discipline, nor would it be all right if there were fewer types of discipline. And the reason for this is that the Bodhisattva's deeds or work is, if you ask what it is to ripen our own and others' beings. So to ripen here means to bring it to a good level, or to make it first rate. And in order to ripen one's own and others' beings, so first to ripen your own being, what you need to do is first in terms of what you need to stop, is you need to refrain from harmful action, and in terms of what you need to do, you need to gather virtuous qualities. So those are two qualities. Then in order to ripen others' beings, you need to bring benefit to other sentient beings, and for that reason, there is nothing that is not included within or incomplete within these three types of discipline. So first there's the discipline of refraining from harmful actions, the discipline of gathering virtuous qualities, and the discipline of benefiting other sentient beings. What is the reason for putting them in that order? The reason is that if we do not first refrain from harmful actions, it's difficult to develop the two later types of discipline. Likewise, this discipline of refraining from harmful actions is the discipline that we primarily practice during the paths of accumulation and joy, and so it is placed first. The second is the discipline of gathering virtuous qualities, because without that discipline of gathering virtuous qualities, you cannot have the best discipline of benefiting others, and also it is practiced primarily during the first 7 impure bodhisattva levels, and so therefore that's the second. So without it, you cannot develop the benefit of sentient. And also, the third is the discipline of benefiting sentient beings. And so the third is, if we do not benefit sentient beings, you cannot ripen and liberate them. And it is also the discipline that is practiced on the 3 pure levels. So therefore, that is why it's placed third. And that is the reason why this order. And so what is the 3 types of discipline? Why is it called the discipline of refraining from harming others? The discipline of, what is it called? The discipline of gathering virtuous qualities or benefiting others? Why is it called these? Now, if we explain it easily, when we talk about the discipline of refraining from harmful actions, what this means is what that would be. What would it be cause one to commit faults or to make mistakes or that would harm others? We must not let those occur. We must make the efforts ourselves to stop them or to discard them. And so that's how we should understand the term of refraining from hard action. When we talk about gathering virtuous qualities, what it means is that even if we can only make one prostration, or if we can only light a single lamp, been brave. No matter what dharma virtue we do, no matter what size, we need to do as much as we can to the best of our abilities. And whatever virtues we gather, we must immediately dedicate to achieving the state of Buddhahood. And that is the discipline of gathering virtuous qualities. And that's how we should understand it, I believe. When we talk about the understanding of benefiting others, it means that, anytime we always think, I should do something to benefit sentient beings, and how am I going to benefit sentient beings? What can I do to benefit others? And when we think about it, we think about this when we're thinking, and when we're actually engaging in the practice, we need to either directly or indirectly benefit sentient beings as much as we can, however we can, or encourage others to do it. And rejoice in everyone who's bringing benefit to sentient beings and praise them. And so even if we can only benefit by people through our words and so forth, we need to do whatever we can. See that we can do whatever we can to benefit sentient beings. So here I think that some scholars say that that benefiting beings means actually directly benefiting sentient beings and not indirectly. So that is said, but I think that is not the benefiting sentient beings. Even if you are not able to benefit sentient beings directly, I think there's so many different exceptions that I think that categorically saying that it's directly benefiting sentient beings, difficult to do that. I wonder if that's really the case. And so if we're going to really investigate this is something we'd really need to think about. And also, even if we aren't able to immediately help, at the very least, we should at least have the mental motivation of thinking, oh, can I help? Or may I be able to help? And so you have to at least have that aspiration to be able to help. And then with these three types of discipline, why are they called discipline? When we talk about discipline, it means I'm promising, I'm committing to give up offenses and to accumulate and to gather the qualities. It's like that promise to do that. For example, with the Mahayana Sojong vows, even if there's no Lama, you can imagine that the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are in front of you. You can, in their presence, take the Mahayana Sojong vows. And likewise, even when there is a Guru, if you don't have the wish deep in your heart to take the vow, even if you take the vow, even follow the ritual 100 times or 1,000 times, you will not receive the vow. So the main thing is the thought, I'm not going to do this, I am going to do this. And then motivated by that thought, you decide upon your own benefit, and you refrain from refrain according to the rules that are your own. And that's how we need to understand it. So basically, when we talk about refraining from harmful action, what it includes is this includes the naturally unwholesome actions, such as the 10 non-virtuous. The prohibited unwholesome actions included in the 7 types of pratimoksha vows, as well as the 18 or 4 root downfalls of the bodhisattva vow. And so there are many different types of. So there are different. And then now, of course, the different traditions. There's a Sangha's tradition and Nagarjuna. We can call it the middle way and the mind-only traditions. If we say the middle way and the mind-only, if we say if they're separate or not, there are many different ways that this is explained. But in any case, to sum it up, all of these are included within the discipline of refraining from harmful actions. If the bodhisattva enters the mandala of the mantra and achieves an empowerment of the tantra, if he receives a tantric vow, then that is also included within this discipline of refraining from harmful action. Now, during the context of gathering virtuous qualities, it's said that there are 34 adverse conditions to generosity and so forth. And so for generosity and so forth, there are 7 adverse conditions for generosity, 9 for discipline, 4 for patience, 3 for patience, 3 for diligence, 3 for dhyana as well, and 8 for prajna. And so in any case, in this way, there's different, each of these has their own different offenses or minor offenses, and these are all included in the discipline of gathering virtuousness. Now, in the discipline of benefiting sentient beings, there are 12 offenses, the offensive adverse conditions. So basically, if we put it together, there are 46 different disciplines for the 2 later types of discipline. And basically there is no practice of the bodhisattva that is not included within these 3 types of discipline. And so all of the main points, the crucial points of the practice of the bodhisattva are included within these 3 types of disciplines, so they are very important. And so next I would like to, I thought I would speak a little bit about the topic of the discipline of benefiting sentient beings. And this discipline of benefit sentient beings, there are 11 ways to sentient beings, and there are also another list of 12 different ways of benefiting sentient beings. So these 2 different types, and the first of these is the 11 ways to benefit beings, and this is in the context of the bodhisattva levels by Asanga. So it's said that it is as well known, or it's best known as being taught in the bodhisattva levels. So what it says in here, the first of those is benefiting those who must be helped. The second is benefiting those ignorant of the means. The third is benefiting those who have helped you. The fourth is benefiting those imperiled by danger. The fifth is benefiting those stricken by grief. The sixth is benefiting those deprived of things. The seventh is benefiting those who wish to settle somewhere. The eighth is benefiting those who wish to come into harmony. The ninth is benefiting who act properly. The 10th is benefiting those who engage wrongly. And the 11th is benefiting those who can be tamed by miracles. And so in this way, there are 11 different types. Likewise, and there's also the 20 verses on the Bodhisattva vows, and then there are those written in the commentary on the difficult points by the Acharya Bodhibhadra. And if we combine these 2, so basically in the 20 vows, or the 20 verses on the vows, what it says is, it says, not helping others in need, giving up nursing the sick, not dispelling suffering, not teaching what's proper to the careless, not helping those who have done something to help, not dispelling others' sorrow, not giving to those who want wealth, not benefiting your disciples, not engaging in a way that accords with others' minds, not speaking in praise of qualities, not stopping wrong appropriately, and not threatening with miracles and so forth. So basically these can be combined in these, all can be explained within these 12. So if we combine the 11 into these 12, I shall now explain how we can do that. So, but I think, first of all, I think we should have the tea break, and then after we have got together, we will, it would be best for me to then first have the tea break, and then I will continue the explanation of these, how the 11 are included in the 12 later. So now that you've had your tea, we'll continue to discuss the topic of the discipline of benefiting sentient beings. Now, as I said before, there are the 3 types of discipline of a bodhisattva. And since there are 3 types of discipline, the first of this is the discipline of refraining from harmful actions. And so this includes many different ways of practice. And there's the discipline of refraining from the 10 unvirtuous activities. It includes the pratimoksha vows. It includes the root downfalls of the bodhisattva. And in addition to if you have taken the tantric vows in addition to the bodhisattva vows, then the samaya of the tantra also, the root downfalls of the tantra also are included in this. So it's a rather vast thing. And so it's difficult, but if you think about it in relation to the others, it's a bit easier, actually. The way I see it, it's actually easier than benefiting sentient beings. And the reason for this is and because when you're practicing the discipline of giving up harmful actions, then the root downfalls are very clear. There's nothing that you can't know or understand, or that they're clear. And it's similarly with Tantra. Also, even within the Vinaya, it's also very clear. So it's a question of whether you can do it or not, but it's how they. But what if it's not understood? It's not a question of things that you don't really understand, or that you can't get an understanding of. And it's something where you really have to think hard about it. Now the second is the discipline of gathering virtuous qualities, and that's just doing as much as you can. Doing whatever virtuous action you can, gathering whatever root of virtue you can, and just making efforts towards it. And it's not like there's anything particularly complicated or annoying about it. As the third, benefiting sentient beings is really complicated. And the reason for this is, as the other two are things that are just basically just to do what's okay with the others, just doing as much as you can. It's not really, you don't have to relate to other people's. When you're talking about benefiting sentient beings, in order to benefit another particular sentient beings or to help another fulfill another sentient being's hopes, it's really difficult. It's not just one person or two persons. Many people's benefit and many people's hopes. It's extremely competent, really difficult, and very different, extremely difficult. And for this reason, the discipline of benefiting others is, from that one perspective, it's just not easy at all. And the second aspect is that benefiting sentient beings is indispensable for bodhisattvas. And the reason for this is that the bodhisattvas should have everything they think and everything they do be for the benefit of other sentient beings, it is said. In order to direct everything you think and everything you say to the benefit of sentient beings, you have to know how to benefit sentient beings. If you understand how to benefit sentient beings, if you were to make a list of everything that's written in the text about benefiting sentient beings and meditate and memorize that, then that doesn't benefit. Because when you get to the point of actually benefiting sentient beings, then it's even more difficult than it is under the talk. And it's much more complicated, and there are many things that you have to accept and take up to. So it's not something that's easy or simple at all. And this is something that we need to really study and over again, and something we really need to increase and to benefit to benefit. And so, for these reasons, I think that it's important to understand the discipline of benefiting sentient beings. Now, we talked about the 11 ways to benefit sentient beings, as it said, and these 11 actions to benefit sentient beings. The first of these is benefiting those who must be helped. And what this means here is, now in the 20 verses on the vows, what it says is, not helping others in dreams, giving up nursing to the sick, not dispelling suffering. So this is taught in 3 lines. Now, within the 20 verses on the vows, it's primarily teaching about the faults that you need, the things that you need to avoid doing. It talks about the disciplines. And at that point here, the first of the thing that you need to do is, the reason why the first thing you need to do to benefit beings is counted as 3, is that in the 20 verses on the vows, the first is not helping sentient others in need. It should be understood as referring to the beings in general, giving up nursing to the sick. The second is since the particular type the particular way of benefiting others, of giving nursing to the sick, is particularly different, so it is separate and separate. And the third, not dispelling suffering, it means just should be understood as generally not engaging in the ways to dispel suffering. However, in the context of what Bodhisattva, when it says the benefit, it's only benefiting those who must be helped. That's all that it says it. But it's said in 3 things in the 20 vows. So in the Bodhisattva, the benefiting those who must be helped in the Bodhisattva level includes includes the nursing the sick and dispelling the suffering. They're both included within that one from the bodhisattva levels. And so for that reason, benefiting those who must be helped is the one, just that one is taught in the bodhisattva levels. When we say, how do we benefit those or help those who must be helped? To explain it according to how it's taught in Bodhibhadra's commentary. So it's within motivation, motivated by the wish to help and helping instead of doing something to help them, or if it helping them and benefiting them in order to protect their houses and wealth, or in order to to bring husband and married couples together who have been separated to help bring them back together. That's one, or to go to weddings and other such parties and so forth to benefit beings, or to aid people in building monasteries or statues and stupas and so forth, helping people in these virtuous activities, these good activities. So it's voluntarily going to help in these activities, and likewise giving service, nursing to the sick, showing the way to the blind, giving signs to the deaf, and carrying the crippled on your back. Now, these days you don't have to carry the cripples on your back, but you have the wheelchairs. And so, helping people, pushing them in their wheelchairs. And so that's another way. Likewise, all those who have been brought down in society, who are disregarded in some ways, to encourage them. And some people mistake their way, and they go down the wrong road. Or if they've been traveling on the road for a long time, if they don't have any food to eat, and they're hungry, so it's giving them food and drink. And sometimes people their body gets really tired and exhausted, and so it's massaging and rubbing and massaging them and so forth. And basically, there's all of these different ways of helping others are included in here. And so here, as I mentioned yesterday, if there are exceptions where if you do not benefit them, do the help, then there's there. So there are such occasions. However, I described them in general terms yesterday, so I won't talk about them again. And the reason why I'm not going to describe them again is that usually we all take it as the exception and don't do anything to benefit others. And so for that reason, if I said now these other exceptions, then we're going to get even more lazy. And we'll have more excuses, and there's no other benefit. So when you talk about an exception, the exceptions are the people who are actually doing it. For the people who aren't doing it, there's no need to there's no giving an exception for people who aren't actually doing it, and so I don't think it's actually necessary to explain them. And so that's the first among the 11 ways to help beings. This is the second. The second one is benefiting those who are ignorant of the means. And so what it says in the 20 verses on the vows is not teaching what's proper to the careless. And so this so His Holiness is explaining the spelling of the word, clarifying the spelling of the word. And so the meaning here, if a person, for example, in this world there are many people who don't think about anything other than this lifetime, right? It's not just a few or two, basically. If you think about it in terms of percentage, it's like 99% of the people in this lifetime, 99% of the people only think about this lifetime. I think there's nothing wrong with saying that. So for all those who only think about this lifetime, what we need to do, for their sake, If we ourselves know how to gather wealth or to do things, and if we have enough, we need to give them direction. We need to do things to benefit them in this lifetime. We need to give them direction and education in these methods. If we don't know, then we can have someone else teach them what they need to know, and say that you should do work in this way in this lifetime. If you make plans like this way, if you get them, you should get together. You should get together with your friends in this way, and when you're working together with people. So when you talk about like their companies, and people are working in companies, so if it's good to work in this sort of a company and give them direction and give them advice. For someone who's thinking about the future lifetimes, then we should tell them the Dharma that's going to help them for the next life. They should work this. You need to think in this way, and direct them in this way. And this is important. And for people who lack faith, you should try to skillfully try to make them feel faith. For those who lack compassion, skillfully try to get them to feel compassion. For those who have wrong views, try to see if you can skillfully bring them to have a right view. And if this is good, this is bad, doing this is good, doing this is bad, and you say teach it in according with your experience and with what you know, and with a pure motivation, you should give them direction and advice. And so what this means for the bodhisattva themselves, even if they don't have any thought for their own for this lifetime, as is, you need to do things to help people who haven't given up on this lifetime. Just think, I've given up on this life, you haven't, so I can't take care of you. I'm not going to meddle with you who haven't thought about this lifetime, so bye-bye. And you can just stay where you are. I can't do anything to benefit you. We can't give up on them in that way. So we should not just discard them, or we need to and do whatever we can to try to benefit them. So the third is to work for the sections of those who help you. And so among the in the 20 verses on the vows, what it says is, helping those who have done something. So in helping those who have done something for you, the meaning of this is that in the past, someone has done something kind to help you. And you should remember them you should not forget them. You have to feel gratitude for them, and not only should you be aware of them with gratitude. For example, if that person at one time then comes to your home one day and says, and you should say, "Oh, welcome! I'm glad you came." In English, they say, "Welcome. I'm very happy that you've come." You should say. You should speak in good words. And you should also prepare a place for them to sit. And welcome them by arranging food and drink and so forth, and make a really good welcome for them. And basically, when you need to try to give them a kindness that is either equal to the kindness they've shown to you, or that is even greater than the kindness they've shown to you. Likewise, if there is someone who's been very kind to you, who have helped you, and if you say, "Please help me," if they say to you, "Please help me, can you help me?" If they place their hopes in you, then you should do whatever you can. It's important to see that it should be unnecessary to mention that you need to do whatever you said. If you don't do anything, even if they don't say anything, you should need to do whatever you can to fulfill their hopes and to accomplish what they want. So in brief, at any time, you need to, the basic point is that you need to repay people's kindness. You should never forget the help that others have given you. In Chinese, there's a saying in Chinese, and it's a really nice saying. if someone helps you with just a single drop of water, then a single drop of water, if someone helps you by giving you a drop of water, then you should give them by giving a whole house full of water. It's like an example that they should have more than you can. So when someone gives you even just a small bit of help, then you should never forget it. And then in the future, then you need to give them, even if you aren't able to give something greater than that, you should at least do something that is equal to it. But it is, and certainly, and you must do what you can so that you don't repay it in some way that is lesser. So that's the fourth. Now the fourth is benefiting those imperiled by danger. And so here, helping those imperiled by danger is not in the root verses of the 20 vows. And even within the Bodhisattva, it's kind of in doubt whether it actually is there or not. It's something that needs to be, we need to review. It may well not be there. But as we wanted to, this fourth way of benefiting sentient beings is benefiting those imperiled by danger, is said, is well known to be included. And also in Acharya's Bodhibhadra's, it is said that so we should we don't protect those who are imperiled from the dangers they face, it is said, and so forth that way. So we should need to examine what is the reason why it's not in the 20 vows, whether it actually is in the bodhisattva levels. And this is something we need to look. The previous Tibetan master, I've never seen any earlier Tibetan masters looked at that. And not just me not seeing doesn't mean that there necessarily wasn't, but it's something that needs to be looked at. So basically, when sentient beings are in danger, imperiled, when they have fear or danger, when they have a danger, we have to do something to free them from that danger. For example, when there are earthquakes, or when there are floods, or when there are big floods, or when there are bears or animals cannibalism, when there's peril from those, or when there's danger from water monsters or whales and so forth. For example, or also when there's the danger of war and famine, plague, and so forth, we need to do whatever we can to be able to protect other people from those, and to free them from that danger, and to support and help them. That's very important. For example, if you take that this time here now, there is the new disease in China. There's a very severe illness that has happened. And it's said that over 60,000 people have been infected by this. Over 60,000 people have been infected by this new virus, and those who have died of it are something like 1,000 or 2,000 people have died of it, and which is, I don't have it exact right in my mind at the moment, but it's not only in China, but also. But this disease is something that is spreading throughout the world, and is spread to many different countries, right? And so at this point, when we look at the news and say, oh, now the news is the news, and say, oh, it's got this number and this many people, and we look at the number and take a tally of it, and say, what new countries has it come to? And if we look at this as kind of like a show, or as like seeing it just as news, if we don't have any worries, or we don't have any, and they wonder, what can I do to help with this? And we sometimes just forget to do that. And we can't forget about that, actually. In particular, if we're someone who's trying to become a bodhisattva, then we absolutely must think, when people are encountering difficulties. So one perspective is it's a really difficult situation. It's a really terrible situation. But for a bodhisattva, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for the bodhisattva to benefit other sentient beings. And such opportunities don't always come. And so at this type of time, we have to, according to our own abilities and capacities, if we can't do anything to address that, at least we have to make aspirations. May this disease may this epidemic be pacified. May all sentient beings be freed from the suffering. May all sentient be cured of the illness. And if we take real interest in this and make support for this, and in that instance, we need to at least make aspiration. This is extremely important. Even if we can't do anything more than just making aspirations, then if we can't even make aspirations, then it's hard, difficult to say. We don't even have to go to an expense to make aspirations, do we? We don't need to move the sky or shake the earth. It's something that we do. Just join your two palms and focus your mind one-pointedly. And recite a couple of, even if it's no more than a few mani mantras, if you just read a few of them, then there's a benefit to the other person, whether direct or indirect. And so for that reason, are things that we need to really recognize within our minds. Now, for myself, I think that I've had this, I should do this. There's nothing, I can't think of anything particularly to do. So in the past, I thought about I translated the prayer on the prayer that dispelled the illness among the Sakyas, and I thought that we ought to do this, but thought we should do this and recite this, and that we ought to recite this. I thought that we ought to recite this because this epidemic is now coming to the area of Sichuan and into Qinghai. And so it's getting to Tibetan areas. And so in these Tibetan-speaking areas, it has become a very severe epidemic. And so in particular, if we recite these in Tibetan, I think this would be beneficial. In any case, that is just sort of an illustration of what can be done. Other lamas have done reciting mantras and reciting certain texts, and have given many different advice. And so you just take all of your power for what you can do. If you think usually when you think about knowing how to do a few, we know how to say a few prayers, and we should make aspirations, praying, reciting whatever prayers. Then one thing, it's kind of like just an illustration, but in another aspect, definitely making aspirations will produce results. Now the fifth of these is benefiting those who are stricken by grief. And so this is described in the 20 verses of the vows as dispelling others' sorrow. Now what this means, and so like people whose parents or close relatives have died, or their good friends have died, or their pets, their beloved pets like dogs and cats, they're beloved and attractive, and they're dear pets. People who are close to them, or when their lamas and good teachers pass away, or when they lose considerable wealth to thieves, or in these days when you have the stock markets in these days. No, I'm not sure exactly what we mean with stock market, but it's talking about it. But in Tibet, what we call it's translated as the stock markets, and so losses in stock markets. So maybe in some days it goes up, in a single day it can go up and it goes down. It can really fluctuate violently in a second. And sometimes when it drops considerably, you can lose tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in a single day. And so in this way, when there are such different, like when you have bankruptcies and so forth, when you have that sort of stress, in order to pass over, you need to help, you need to do something to do this. And basically, it's taking the worries and mental sufferings of the grief and sorrows, and try to find ways to relieve that. And particularly these days, and there are many who live in cities who have a lot of depression. And so depression is, I'm not sure what we say, but it's sort of like it's a mental illness. This is called Yoyu Chen in Chinese. And if we call it a mental illness, or if we're talking about if the mind is overcome with grief, and the mind just gets depressed. There are many who are affected by such a mental illness, particularly among young people. There are quite a few among young people in particular. And so, so they really need someone who's around them, who can help them, who close to them, who can give them good direction and in a positive way. And so these are, and so this means benefiting people who have mental difficulties, mental sorrow and suffering. Now the sixth is benefiting those who are deprived of things. And so in the 20 verses on the vows, what it says, it is not giving to those who want wealth. And so this is giving those who have no food, who have no clothes, who have no wealth in their hands, the beggars, or also the wretched, trying to benefit them in any way we can. For example, giving them food and wealth but not just that, but also giving education is also extremely important. For example, because if you give them a bowl of food, then it helps them for the minimum of a few hours or at most a day. But if you give them education, then even if they only learn a single thing, then it can help them for their entire lifetimes. For example, if for the poor people or for poor households, if we think that we should send their children to schools, if they want to send their children to schools, but they don't have the money to send their children to schools. And this difficulty affects many people. Even when they're sent if they send them to a small school, and maybe they're able to send their children to primary school, but not to middle school, or if they can send it to middle school, not to the high school, and so forth. In the past, in India, there was a geshe. And in the area of Dharamsala, he made there's a camp for beggars, and so, or a slum for beggars, and he went there and he established a school for the beggars who lived in the slum. And he took the responsibility to these, and he did what he could to sponsor the expenses. And he once said to me, at first, when I established the school, and when I was gathering students, it was really difficult. And the reason for that is because the parents wouldn't send the children. And so we said, we're going to spend the money. We're looking for the teachers. All you have, and so if you please, and all you have to do is send your child, and otherwise, there's nothing else to do. They still wouldn't send their children. The reason why is because for generations they've been living as beggars. And so it's like they had this lineage of being beggars. It's like they'd be like our Kaju lineage. They're people who hold the lineage of being beggars. So if we send your children to them, there won't be anyone who's going to hold the lineage of beggary. And so there are many people who came and made problems that way. And what is that? If we think about what is that problem from? If we spend your whole life and if the children become like having the education and learning of other people, and we're able to get work equal to those other people who had work, and we're able to do something that being profit in this lifetime, and to be able to have a really good, be able to live, have a good livelihood. If they had that support, they need to have that support, basically. But when they say that they don't actually need it to be like that. So when you think about it. And so he spent a long time giving a lot of, he said he had to spend a long time explaining it to the parents and giving advice to the parents. If when you think about education, or giving education, is not necessarily holding classes and getting a teaching, it's not that. And giving education and learning is basically, it's going to be giving practical advice to others. And I think to increase experience of others. And this is really important. For here now, there are many nuns here today, and you all, and among you nuns, are from the Himalayan regions. You were born in households in the Himalayas, and some of these households are good, but many basically just have really, what you could say, a traditional way of thinking. And even in very remote areas, if you don't ever have much experience, so your traditional way of thinking, you get used to the traditional way of living, and they think about you need to study, you need to go to school, and then it's something that you don't really want. This happens often, doesn't it? In Tibet, for example, we have this difficulty. The nomads, the nomad girls, you need to send them to study, you need to send them to school. So how can you do that? I never know that girls had to learn how to write. The girls said, I don't know, my mother didn't know, my grandmother didn't know, my great-grandmother, they don't need to know anything. If you send her to school, then who among us is going to milk the cows? Who's going to do the housework? And the mother said, I'm getting too old. And it's difficult for me, my body is difficult to move. So no one could do the housework. And so because for the short term, there'd be no one to do housework in the short term. And they'd end up wasting the whole life to make it so that they have no hopes or aims for the future. And this is just a too limited way of thinking. There's no fault for not having ever seen much of it, but it's quite important for us to really think about it. When do you have to do this? When you go in, you need to talk about things in practical terms. You don't need to recite, start from the refuge prayer and say, now I'm going to give you praise, and then say some really impressive things and things that like you're reading something that's written down. That's not good. But what you have to actually do, giving really practical advice and sharing your opinions is really important. If you're always saying something, then if you're always saying that, then they say, oh, she's saying that, and maybe eventually maybe one day they'll think, oh, there's a reason why they're saying that. They might think. And so these are important, I think. And so in brief, today, we leave it here, and I will continue tomorrow about from the seventh way of benefiting sentient beings. So in any case, since I'm only planning to finish the 11th chapter, there's no rush, and we can go through, we can take it in a relaxed way, and I think I can feel about this, and I think that it'll be more beneficial for you as well. Otherwise, if we hurry to try to finish quickly, it's difficult for me. And you would say, oh, he talked a lot, he said a lot. And it's like it's like making a horse race through the paper, just reading what he said. I don't know what he said. If it's like that, then it wouldn't be good, right? And so for these reasons, so today I'll leave it from here today. Actually, after the teaching that after I'm finished with my teaching, if you still have some time, you're supposed to finish at 12 o'clock, right? It's okay. So of course it's okay to finish a little bit early, because if you eat, it's good to take your time eating lunch. However, if you have a little bit of time, it's good for you to recite the Tara prayer, as it's said in the, and particularly as in the way of the Mara. So it's good to recite it 2 or 3 times. It's read 2 or 3 times. Recite the Tara prayer 2 or 3 times. And if you can recite it then, and as I said before, if you think that we and all other sentient beings maybe that all of our temporary and long-term adversities are maybe pacified. In particular, those two have been Dharma have been, and also there are many people who have great fear because of the epidemic. In particular, there are many people I'm connected to in China. There are the Chinese people in China and also the Tibetans who are very frightened by this. And so when people get really panicked and they get afraid, there's actually no benefit to it. It actually just increases the difficulties you have. It just increases your suffering. It doesn't have any other benefit. So if you have faith in the Dharma, then you should recite the prayers that you are able to pray, that you know. So it's beneficial. It's beneficial for your own mind, and it's also beneficial for others. And particularly, may the Buddhism and the teaching of the three jewels dry and spread, and if we pray, make hazards, then it's definitely going to benefit, I think. And so for that reason, we should take this opportunity today and recite the Tara prayer. And make prayers one-pointedly in order to overcome the epidemic. And because there are over 400 nuns here, then I think it'll definitely benefit. You're wearing the robes of a Buddhist, and you've gone forth and are included among the masters, so you're different than ordinary people. As the Buddha said, those who are my followers are different than are better than 100,000. So even if a Buddha or if a bhikshu has broken their vows, is superior to 1,000 to 100 ordinary people, that's not the same. So if you all if it's that way for them, then for you, if you take this, and there are also many people who've gathered from around the world, from different places with different languages, from different countries, and if we all come from different places in the world, all over the world, but if we recite a prayer with the same intentions, then that's going to have greater power. So for this reason, please everyone keep this in mind and recite these prayers. Thank you.